Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UKLC. London Esports are 1 up in the series and they're just 1 game away from securing themselves that 10th and final spot in the UKLC main series. For the side of Resolve, they've really got to find some resolve to pull out 2 wins here back to back. Otherwise, their run in the qualifiers is unfortunately at an end. Orcs, let's talk about that last game because it felt like Resolve were matching them at least kind of in gold and on the map as much as possible, but as that game got later and later, it felt like the ideas just started to fall apart and they just didn't seem to have a game plan.
Yeah, early game was great. I have to credit Resolve for a solid early game. If they kept that momentum up, this would have been their match in the bag. And we have seen London's biggest issue is their early game. Even in their wins, they can sometimes have a rough start where they fall behind. Their mid game is really where they bounce back. Their coordination then is absolutely excellent. Their team fighting is on point. And I think that's where the issues arose for Resolve. There was some poor team fighting where they weren't really positioned in the right way. I think the Herald fight was the first start where it just felt like there was a much better interpretation of London where they wanted to be and how they wanted to play the fight. And often the Dragon fights as well were critical issues too. So I think ultimately Resolve, there's a lot of issues that you sort of have to fix quickly. The ultimate thing is you just have to try and continue that momentum from the early game. Have a clear plan. You already know how to start the game well. You picked a competition that has strong scaling elements and you won the early game. It's just bridging up those issues in the mid game. Know where you need to be, know where your lane assignment is, be on the lookout for London making plays and trying to pick people up and translate that into objectives. And also when you get into a fight over an objective, know where you're wanting to be and get there early. One of the big things I noticed is that often in the setup for objectives, it was London who were there first. It was London who had the vision control, and you'll notice that a lot of the fights in that game started off with Linkers walking into the fog of war, getting chunked or killed, and then from then on, the fight was just already doomed because one of your critical frontline members is already basically useless because he often has to use all his mobility, maybe a kick to get away, or he goes down. And then even if you win the fight, you don't get the objective because they're probably just going to rush it with the smite. So a lot of things at play there. A lot of things that were sort of rough for Resolve, but we've seen better performances from them. They just felt like they kind of lost their pace in the mid game.
Yeah, once we get into the picks and bans, I'm curious to see what kind of gets changed between these 2 teams. Now, for the side of London, they actually are still on the red side, and the blue side is once again Resolve, so easy to track. Everyone's on the same side they're playing in that last one. We're learning into picks and bans nice and quick, and we'll see what gets changed or what maybe even gets kept the same because, like you said, it wasn't really the draft that let down Resolve. I think they had a solid draft. In fact, I'm fairly certain you said you actually really liked their draft and you preferred it to the side of London. Like you said, it was the execution. It was the bridging of these good states of the game into the weaker ones. They need to make sure that they kind of shore up those issues. Now, the Syndra, the Trundle, and the Varus have all been banned away.
Yeah, there were some elements I liked, some I didn't. I honestly actually would have preferred the Trundle first pick rather than the set. They've opted just to ban it away, so at least that deals with that issue. I think Trundle is super powerful. There aren't always great answers. And I think the pivotal thing with Trundle is he's just good early, but he scales so incredibly well into later stages, and he's just very difficult to deal with. It becomes so tanky, so like the adaptation to ban that away. It does leave the LeBlanc open. They are also banning the Thresh, so they put bans towards the Misfortune and the LeBlanc. Those are now open and available, so Chimera and Golden God can get their hands on those. But I think prioritizing these high-value picks that were taken by the side of London is important. So likely going to see the set again. We saw it last game. We'll see it here once more. Makes sense, especially now that the Trundle and the Thresh has been banned away. I like this start more.
And what is going to be the answer now that the lights of the Thresh are banned away? We did see Bear Tree pick up the Wukong to deal with the set last time round, but remember, that set is still technically flexible. It can still move around, so you don't want to be picking the Wukong up right now. And also in laning phase, Bear Tree had a really, really rough go of it. The MF was banned last game, so Misfortune will get picked up for Golden God. He's had a good game on it so far in the qualifiers already under his belt, and he's going to look to continue that once again. What do they want to pair with that MF? What do they want to pick up in this next phase?
I expect it to potentially be the Olaf. Warden's been really big on it. The Trundle's now off the card. So we talked earlier about how the Olaf, originally Trundle was brought into the meta way back when Trundle jungle started being played as an answer to Olaf. So you're now in a position where you could play it, but instead Warden's actually going for the Gragas. So
that could be for Bear Tree. We saw him play it yesterday.
True,
the AP Gragas, max cooldown reduction, belly bop every 3 seconds. I like this. This is a very flexible pick. It works in the jungle. It works in the top lane. However, it does mean that Linkus is going to get his hands onto the Olaf now, as that is the denial pick up here. They're now looking towards most likely an AD carry. Otherwise, they will get hard banned out.
Gragas I liked for Battery, but I do feel like the Olaf may have been higher priority. This was a great pick for Warden. It was a great opportunity to take it. Their decision not too sure I'm convinced on that one. But now looking towards this next pick, and it's just going to be the Ezreal for Dragdar. So something with a bit more agency. Ezreal is a big pick for Dragdar. He will consistently pick it. Could end up meaning Kamara just picks up his LeBlanc, and we saw a reason for the misfortune LeBlanc banned away from London. They get left open, they're going to pick those up, and it gives them a lot of strength already, and they still have that flexibility from the Gregs. Now, in terms of bans, you could look towards a support role, maybe the Karma, if you want to deny that from Richley, now that you don't have the Thresh, which is one of those big answers to it. Although, if you're not as concerned, Raisins could still play the Nautilus, but we may see that banned from Resolve in return. I think there are a lot of options in this situation.
Well, the Zoe gets taken away from Pillar. I expect to see a few more mid lane bans, really. Make sure Kamara is as comfortable as possible on this LeBlanc so he can move around the map and kind of set his team up for success. Over on the other side, I expect to see maybe some top lane bans coming out. And there's the Wukong from Artorias. We'll have to see if this is a second mid ban or if, like you said, something like that Karma being denied.
I think a lot of the strengths of the flexibility of the Gragas come in here. You could see a jungle ban here, maybe the Jarvan. If you wanted to force them to take the Gragas into the jungle, I would imagine something like that. But Lee Sin's still available, and that's a fine matchup. So maybe in this situation, you don't have too many options if you wanted to ban out junglers, and you could just stick to top and then at least force the Gragas to go top lane if you think that's a fine matchup for you. But ultimately, we did see Battery kind of have his way with the game last time he played this champion. So they will go for the
Lee Sin ban, yeah. So they're not completely convinced this is Warden's Gragas yet.
I think as well.
We'll start to get a rough idea. You expect them to pick a support up here, and then they can flex around a little bit more.
Although you could see them holding on to it just for their strength of having a bot lane favorable matchup into the Ezreal. Note that Yuumi hasn't been banned in this situation. We could see an Ezreal Yuumi. I think as well the Lee Sin makes sense because LeBlanc Lee Sin, super powerful combo for pressuring the lane as early as level 3. But they are going to take the Jarvan in this situation. It makes sense. I said they could have banned Jarvan. They opted for the lead. Jarvan gets left open. It's going to be a Gragas top, most likely. 99.9%. In theory, could go support, but I doubt it. Now, question is going to be, what do we get from the other side? They could take the Yuumi to pair up with Ezreal, or they could take something that stands by itself. Maybe a more defensive support. Karma works as well, which Richley does favor. And the other question is, what they're going to take mid for Caterpillar in this situation.
Thinking it through. Yuumi gets locked in for the Ezreal there, so Yuumi Ezreal will be the bot lane. And now, what's your answer into Yuumi Ezreal? How do you play around this as MF? Who's your support, ideally, to deal with this?
So often you can force quite heavily onto the Ezreal Yuumi with something that can sort of dive in the early levels, especially if you take the LeBlanc down. Nautilus works fine in this situation. That can definitely be a favorable one. It just depends what you want to sync up best with this misfortune. Actually, you're going to see the Malzahar come out here into the LeBlanc. So, but if an old pick that you would traditionally take to counter shoves the wave very effectively, you just throw down the Malefic Visions and then let the Voidlings do their work. And then if LeBlanc does dive in, you press R and then it instantly locks them down. It also secures a strong scaling element for the team. Not only does Malzahar scale well, you're forcing a QSS tax on the rest of the team. Now, in this situation, London have opted for the other side of the coin. You can play something like Nautilus and look to CC the Ezreal and dive him, or alternatively, you can look to play something like Karma. MF beats Ezreal for priority, Karma beats Yuumi for priority. They're going to be trapped under the tower for most of the game, and as much as Yuumi does have healing, she's going to be using it on cooldown to survive this poke. So very easy if at any point Warden and Kamara want to move down for a dive. It definitely makes things difficult for this bot lane. But I do think in the mid lane, having the Malzahar on the LeBlanc is good. And I think Olaf is going to do fine into the Jarvan. So,
all right, well, then let's have a little talk about the top lane then. Because obviously we got the Gragas versus the Set. Artorias in the last game pretty much took over the lane versus Beartree early. As it got later and later, once that Death's Dance and the Triforce came through, Beartree was able to hold his own, especially with the help of Warden coming down and using the Subjugate on Artorias. His options there aren't quite the same. He's obviously got the Jarvan. There's a lot of CC between the Gragas Jarvan, but what are we expecting in this lane? How does this match out?
So I think it's quite tricky for Set. You saw that in the previous game with the Wukong, where there was loads of situations where Artorias looked like he's winning the trade. He's going to just pummel Battery, but Battery had already dipped away. And I feel like that's going to be the situation with this Gragas a bit, where like you go in for a body slam into a barrel trade, and then by the time Artorias can do anything in return, you've already disengaged. And I feel like that's what makes it a little bit difficult. Now, if an Olaf turns up and Artorias does land CC onto Battery, they could really decimate him, especially as Olaf can block the body slam. But if Battery gets a lead, Artorias can't really do much to him. And an AP Gragas, because Battery does go like an AP Bruiser build, AP Gragas in a team fight is just absolutely menacing, especially against a Malzahar. If he doesn't have his passive shield up, he's just going to be able to ultimate into his team. He can provide disengage. He can threaten Ezreal because the cast can be enough just to chunk him out. I think ultimately it's very much, if Artorias can sort of establish dominance and get assistance from Linkus, great. If he can't, he may end up having a rough time if Battery can get through the laning phase easily.
Well, that's all to play for. Remember, for the side of Resolve, they need to win here. Otherwise, they are out there, knocked out. And for the side of London, they're one of the favourites coming into the qualifiers. Completely forgot the word for it there. They're one of the favourites coming into the qualifiers for the UKLC. If they can get himself a 2-0 win here, it's a big, big statement. Obviously, they did drop one game, but that would be almost a clean sweep through the qualification stage that's broadcasted. So I'm excited to see how they're gonna show up today. There's still a lot up in the air for the side of Resolve. They need to fix up some of the issues they had in that last game because they're great laning phases. But like you said, for the side of bot lane, they're not really going to have much of a laning phase. It's going to be kind of dodging skill shots underneath tower. I'm curious to see how the jungle matchup goes as well, because Linkus actually matched Warden pretty effectively at the beginning of the last game. Olaf versus Jarvan, both of them are okay early, so it's going to be quite an exciting jungle matchup if they do find themselves fighting for the Scuttlecrab.
Yeah, Jarvan has more ganking pressure because he has the CC and the gap closer. Olaf is better at skirmishes, he's better at the 1v1, and also if a counter gank occurs, Olaf is super dangerous because if the Jarvan commits in with his flag and drag, Olaf can just beat up on him. He can chase you down with the axes. So ultimately, I do favor this over towards the Olaf, but if Warden can avoid him, he can definitely make something happen, especially if he's playing around the LeBlanc. If he manages to find priority mid, say he puts a gank onto Pillar, puts the Malzahar behind, he then gets the LeBlanc to rotate bot lane, you kill the Ezreal on the tower, the Yumi's a freebie you get as a bonus, and then suddenly the game's looking very favorable towards London. That is sort of my criteria for that early game. Then again, we have seen times where London have kind of messed up in the early game. If they do that here, things can quickly become tricky because an Ezreal Yumi who are ahead, very dangerous. An Olaf who's ahead, again, can become out of control quickly. And critically, a Malzahar is always going to make your team feel behind because you have to pay that QSS tax. If you don't, you just instantly lose a member of your team because they'll just get ulted, killed, dead, CC'd, nothing they can do. If they do buy the QSS, and sure, you eliminate that factor, but you've just spent 1,300 gold on an item that isn't giving you a ton of value, especially when Set, Olaf, and Ezreal do a lot of AD damage. The magic resist isn't going to really come into fruition that much other than against Pillar.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how this goes down. Chimera's actually opted in to the Ignite. Sometimes we see LeBlancs prefer the teleport, but Chimera, he wants that Ignite. He wants the kill pressure in lane.
As well as the kill pressure, the 2v2 pressure very important. And the Ignite is super important against an Olaf because in a 2v2 skirmish, if you focus the Olaf, often he will out-heal when you've run out of cooldowns. So let's say Chimera does a full combo, Warden knocks him up, Linkus survives. He just keeps autoing, heals back up. Suddenly you lose a 2v2. The Ignite can make the difference, not just from the damage, but the healing reduction as well. And it also can be relevant later on when Dragdor's getting healed up by Richly. So I like this pickup in this situation. I think he'll get a lot of value.
Well, our teams are on the Rift for game number 2 of this series. It is match point for London. Resolve need to find the win here. Beartree on the top lane Gragas. We saw it yesterday. He did a lot of work versus... I can't remember whose Yasuo it was, but it was nasty.
I remember. Pretty sure there was a Set mid then. And he just bullied the Set mid once he got ahead in the side lane.
It was Degree Sports top lane who ran the Yasuo.
Evan.
Yes, Evan. Thank you.
And then it was Chen Tang in the mid lane who I believe went the set and got beaten up. And that could happen to Artorias if he does fall behind. There's just not much you can do once the CDR is stacked up and he keeps chaining together the body slams. For now, though, seen an evade from Linkus. Typical, often Olaf to use that early level 1 pressure that you can apply to try and get a buff. Taking the red can be pretty significant here. And a good start for the champion. See if he tries to continue through the rest of the jungle. But in return, Warden going to use that trick. We see where they flag over the wall. And we're going to end up with a bit of a map split right now. This could be rough for both sides. Battery, if he's trapped in the tower, he isn't going to be too tanky in the early levels. Can get taken down. And on top of that, if Richley and Dragdog get shoved under tower, we could see them getting dived extremely early. Maybe even now.
Yeah, they may be thinking about it, actually. They got the ability to do so. Warden has not got his smite, so he's actually taking a fair amount of damage currently. So I don't think he really has the health to go for a dive yet, and the health bars weren't particularly low. So it looks like he'll probably just peel away from that. Link has actually moved over towards the red side jungle, so he'll have at least an idea of what Warden was about.
Yeah, I think the low HP on Jarvan combined with the lack of Ignite to reduce the healing from Heal and Yuumi was part of the factor in this situation. I have seen dives that early.
Oh, they're looking for it on Pillar, though. The Ignite there, the flag, the drag, the knock up. Chimera gets first blood.
It's beautiful play coming out from Chimera. You can always find those angles onto Malzahar. If he does overstep, you can very much threaten him. Just a bit of a mistake, honestly, by Pillar. Doesn't bring the flash, though. That's one thing. But the chain setup's there, and that's why LeBlanc is so good as a mid laner against these immobile targets. You land the chain, and it's just a free kill if you have some extra damage to follow up, which Warden was perfectly there in time for. Now, he is playing heavily towards his bot side, and this just permanently puts the threat on this Ezreal Yuumi, because as I was saying before, I have seen Ezreal Yuumi getting dive level 1, and I think before level 6, it is extremely free to do, because there's not much Ezreal can do with the Arcane Shift. He just has to reposition on the tower, and the Yuumi essentially just sits there and does nothing. Your Prowling Projectile gets very limited effort within range. And you can see there, that's sort of the trading pattern where Battery goes in and tries to get out again before he can be retaliated. There, Artorias did retaliate, but if you can find a good avenue to avoid the stun, you can get a lot of value. And that's often why Merc Treads can be important for Artorias here, so that when the CC comes in, there's less duration on it, so you can respond quicker.
You are seeing already a plate has fallen in this bot side. Golden God and Raisin's just constantly pressuring and shoving Dragdar and Richley in. London have a very solid bot lane at the moment. Up in CS, mid lane as well with that first blood onto the LeBlanc. It's got the Corrupting Pot and the Dark Seal. This is very much early. I'm going to bully you, Pillar.
So if we actually look at what happened there, is LeBlanc walked down, placed a pink ward in the enemy jungle, and used the Scryer's Bloom. So this is setting up for a later rotation. We talked in the draft, and a good ward there coming from the bot lane. There's a clear path towards the bot side of the map, and we talked about how in Champ Select, if Chimera gets an advantage mid, it frees him up to rotate bot and dive. Dragdar and Richley have just been trapped in the tower permanently, and Pillar, he's not going to be caught out.
Yeah, they used the silence a little bit early. Remember, Linkus is there. They do force the flash out from Pillar. Linkus maybe made it a little bit too dangerous to overcommit, but that is now a flash down on the Malzahar, a teleport down on the Malzahar. Pillar is having a really, really rough game of it.
And on top of that, Warden just used his Scryers just to clear out that ward in the Pixel Brush. So there is now no vision control on the bot side. It's very dangerous for Pillar to step up. And what this means is that they can pressure him here. Even if they don't get the kill, they can shove the wave in and rotate bot. That is what I'm looking to come out of this situation. Get the free 2 kills bot lane, and there's very little you can do in response on the side of Resolve. This is one of the big vulnerabilities of Ezreal Yuumi. For now, though, they're going to hold the freeze, and they're going to take the dragon. Level 6 on Chimera. I expect to see them utilize the bot lane pretty soon, though.
You can see Linkus is on the top side of the map, but with Bear Tree level 6 and Linkus only just hitting level 5, it's going to be very hard to dive with all that CC and all that burst damage available on the Gragas. So this is just going to be a free Mountain Drake given over. There shouldn't be any response elsewhere.
I'm just waiting to see when the call comes in. It looks like they're actually resetting. They might actually swap the top side before doing this.
Doesn't some of that like vision setup they placed earlier is kind of redundant.
It feels... Oh, Cask actually used that by battery. So a lot of mana trader, but he does dodge the Haymaker damage. So essentially trading his mana for HP. I'm looking for Pillar here.
It's going to take the chains. Warden doesn't really want to dive at this point. Pillar does have his ultimate available.
Yeah, and actually ult used by Chimera, so a lot of pressure relieved there. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that they should have made that move down towards bot lane. It looks like they're actually not making the swap in this situation, and that can be favorable. Well, actually, it's just the MF staying, so this can be favorable if you can get a lot of solo plating and solo gold to herself, but you have to trade that off with the fact that you're giving up pressure towards that Herald. Although if Battery stays around, you might be able to maintain it. Dragdar and Richly have already swapped. But I'll go back to it. I really feel like they could have died Dragdar and Richly really easily. I feel like they had the vision set up. They had the pressure set up for mid. I kind of feel like it's a missed opportunity, personally. That would have been 2 kills, potentially onto the LeBlanc with a misfortune. You know, it's not been a bad early game by any means by London. I just think it could have been better if they'd been able to execute on that.
You could maybe think that this is partly due to the fact that they are up in the lane pretty heavily, up in mid lane. Top lane's the only lane which isn't like hard winning at the moment, and it felt like maybe a risk that they didn't want to potentially lose their advantage with. They're going to get this tower, they're going to get these plates, and there is no real answer available to the side of Resolve. So while in theory it definitely was a good idea, I feel like maybe it is just a safety thing. They know they're 1 away from winning. They don't want to potentially swing the momentum of this series against themselves by making a risky dive.
Sure, but I'm of the opinion that it was pretty low risk, and when you're ahead already, you should try and expand it even more. Ultimately, the end result is they don't miss out too much. They get this tower bot lane, so making the decision not to swap means, sure, in response, the Herald is given over, but they get the first tower, which is what you're actually taking the Herald for. So they get that quicker. They now should actually be able to respond, move over to where the Herald's been applied. I think they're looking to do it in the top lane, and they should be able to defend this tower and limit the effectiveness of any Herald usage by Resolve. Link is going to get chunked out a bit, but not too much threat.
Yeah, looks like the Herald's going to come down. Golden God's only just going to base now. So the Herald does get summoned here. Battery will clear out most of this wave if he can. He's got Warden at his back. Warden's level 5 though, so can't actually pin Linkus under tower with that Cataclysm. And yeah, they give over some plates. They do not give over the tower, crucially.
Yeah, so
it actually looks like Golden God's just making his way back towards bot lane.
They miss out the Tower Gold. They miss out the first Tower Blood. And they don't even get all the plates. So definitely an uptrade for London. I think it was a smart call. They'd already got the damage on the tower, so to avoid swapping. They're keeping the Gragas in the top side just because there's a ton of wave clear. And Golden God's actually running Artorias down. He might just be dead.
Yeah, he uses the exhaust as well. Artorias, he's just down. The teleport's being used, and they may just commit for a little bit more. Dragdar has to be so careful. There's no tower there for him. He's arcane shift away, but Chimera's coming in. Gonna get himself the slow.
Oh, the great
predict was so insane. Chimera does not find the killer's Golden God gets it, but that was insane.
That was so clean from Chimera. Got to see some spams in the chat for that one. Oh, just completely read him like a buck. And Dragdar goes down. The pressure's being applied. London, we said the early game can be a little bit messy. Not this time.
This is why the LeBlanc was banned away from Chimera consistently in the qualification round. He is so good at this champion. And that was Dragdar's flash down as well, which is key there. You got the Infernal Drake spawning up in 40 seconds as well. So with this priority, they've managed to crew for themselves in the bot lane. They have all the power they want to go and set up. Chimera's going to go to base and spend some gold. Should at least be a blasting one for him, or maybe the upgrade on his boots. Blasting one and control ward.
Playing that vision game, and this is one of the issues when you play the Azul Yumi. It really just detracts from the pressure you can apply. Bot lane often important for the two members, but actually they're looking for a play top.
Yeah, goes for the flash into the bear slam. Gets himself caught out. Artorias actually throws a shield down, but the tower shots are just too much. Betry with the fancy feet dodges out on Linkus. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, the Nevergrass will turn it. They did trade one up there in that fight, though, so it's a 2-for-1 globally. Betry should finally fall. Gets the belly bop off onto Linkus. Linkus will survive this time, though.
Oh, Raisins.
And now Raisins may have just walked into his death. The Never visions are just a little bit too much. Chimera misses out the chains as the flash comes down by Pillar.
Yeah, I mean, the top lane play was really unfortunate. Artorias has not had a good series so far today. Battery just buying enough time. Still does go down. But a trade 1-for-1 there and deny the tempo from Linkus. If he went down quickly, they probably would have just taken the tower. Didn't see quite what happened in the mid lane. It was a heavy dive against Malzahar, which is risky, and they did pay for it. They did manage to take down Dragdar again. Not looking too hot on this Ezreal. There is still that scaling element. For now, it's looking tricky, and Warden is working on this second dragon, making that soul a real threat. If he gets this one, we'll be looking at potentially, you know, a 23-minute Dragon Soul. And with how far behind Resolve are, just in terms of pressure, and the Ezreal looking to scale, the fact that the Malzahar is going for a Seraphs, which is going to take a long time to stack, you really do not want an early soul. It is a Cloud, though. Definitely not the worst to be going up against.
Taurus can take a fair amount of damage here. It looks like Bear Tree this time has to really play this well. Goes for the cast onto Linkus. Actually gets out with the belly bomb.
Beautiful.
Bear Tree is just playing this game so well. He refuses to be caught out by Linkus and Notorious.
Still looking, but they will be happy with just taking the tower. Play's still up, which feels weird. It feels like this game's been really long. It's a lot more action-packed than the previous one. But it's still 30 minutes only, and they will get the plates and that tower. And in return, Raisins and Golden God will get some damage on this mid lane one.
Yeah, able to get at least one plate in that mid lane. They continue to siege away. We'll have to see whether or not they've taken more in the meantime. So still got a minute until those plates fall off. They did get some additional plates, actually.
It's falling down soon. You can see Raisins, Golden God, and Warden passing up towards the top side to defend. Still only one tower each. 1,000 gold lead for the start of London. Right now, the gold difference isn't actually that big, but it feels quite significant. I think the MF being 3-0. I'd actually like to have a look at the individual gold levels. And we see 2,000 is a difference between 80 carries. And that's what feels significant. Drag dodge isn't relevant right now. And isn't likely to be for quite a bit of time. That's the fundamental issues. MF spikes sooner. That one item spike is really big for her. Because the execution is calling as well to cut down the healing. But it's only really going to get worse for a while.
Barrett. Just going to pop Pillar's spell shield early. Continue to give him a little bit more kill pressure in this lane. As the 1-3-1 is still quite happy for London to hold. They're happy to continue to play this 1-3-1. Warden's going to go and get his hands onto this Rift Herald, although Taurus has spotted them out. Remember, Chimera doesn't have teleport. And Pillar is already up in the mid lane with that Never Grasp available, so this could be really risky. Herald is going to get reset.
Nice. That's
nice
an
for Olaf
London.
with a Yumi.
It's nice for London, though. They've reset the Olaf. It buys time for Chimera to get up. They can now take mid priority and challenge his tower. They should just get the mid tower here. Dragdar can't really defend well, so really nice pull out and then reset for London. Kind of played Resolve there. They don't get the Herald right now, but if you see the position of Pillar, Dragdar, and Richley, it means they are just miles away from the Herald. The rotation comes in, and they'll be able to secure this one after already getting mid tower. So, well played. Nice little rotation that just paid off massively. And Chimera looking for Pillar.
Yeah, Nevergrass Thunder Chains are going to pop. The True Shot Barrage gets flashed away by Chimera. He's looking for the kill, but Pillar finds the outplay and secures the kill.
I just love you, like, finds outplay. The R button, the ultimate outplay.
Just the point and click abilities.
Oh, Chimera tried so hard. The flash from the Ezreal was really clean. And if you'd won that fight, it would have been the hypest thing ever. But it just wasn't enough against the Malzahar. Pillar showing why this pick works so well against Chimera. The mobility is key for this champion. But it wasn't enough there.
Gonna go to base, spend that gold as well. 3-1 on the Malzahar right now. Warden hanging around in the top lane, has got his Rift Herald in his pocket. It's going to catch Artorias out in the Cataclysm. Showstopper used early there by Artorias, and he's just going to get half health by the jungler. Meanwhile, Golden God just quietly farming up. Got that Essence Reaver, got another BF sword in his infantry, and the Executioner's calling early to cut through richly. He actually had that before he even bought a single item, so it was such an early buy for Golden God. He really recognized the healing capabilities from Richley, and this should just be a turret falling here in the top lane.
Yeah, it was a nice getaway from Artorias, showing he can do a little bit of what Battery was doing, but ultimately the Herald still comes down, the turret still gets destroyed, so despite the fact that Artorias is able to survive, it doesn't really amount to much. He does save his flash, though, thanks to ult usage. And this tower shouldn't go down, although the charge is going to come in. Oh, and that damage!
That is insane by Bear Tree. Actually gets the cask.
Oh, he
misses out on the belly bomb. Does dodge the haymaker, though. The facebreaker does connect, and Bear Tree with the protobelt secures the kill. Now he's flashing away. He's got the backup of the enemy team chasing him down. Meanwhile, Pillar is going to get caught out by Raisins and the rest of the team. The True Shot Barrage snipes out Bear Tree, and it's a 1-for-2 globally. But the Dragon will get picked up by London Esports, and this now means they are one off Cloud Soul.
I'm not really a fan of the Ninja Tabi by Artorias. I feel like you need some magic resist here. The Merc Tread's reducing the CC as well will be big. He's just getting popped. He's so squishy. And as you said, they're winning the fight on the bot side. Battery's trading 1-for-1 on the top side. They're going to get the Dragon and the Beyond Soul point. This is great for London. Gold lead's still kind of minor at 2,000, but they just seem to have so much pressure across the map.
Unfortunately for them, Cloud Soul isn't, the actual active ability isn't really that useful. The passive movement speed's going to be nice for them, but like only really LeBlanc and Bear Tree are going to use the Cloud Soul effectively this game. Maybe Raisins as well.
It's nice for Karma, yeah. I mean, the passive movement speed with Karma is actually really nice. Misfortune as well already gets a ton of movement speed, so it really makes your rotations and your engages insane. So the active, I agree, not the best. But, you know, getting in position to use your Cataclysm or your Explosive Cask, it will definitely help with. But as is always, Cloud Soul, definitely not the one you were hoping to get. Infernal Soul would be monstrous here. Mountain Soul would be nice. Ocean Soul is just broken, but still going to be something.
It's 20% off your cooldown reduction as well. So
yeah, I think my opinion of it is I feel like the individual dragons, Cloud Soul can sometimes be the most impactful. To get 10% ult CDR is just absolutely massive off like a single dragon, because Infernal is only 4%. It's not too high. Mountain only really affects if you're stacking a lot of resistances. And Ocean's really minor. Like the individual dragons for Ocean are really minor because it doesn't give mana regeneration anymore. You have to stack a lot for the health generation to be... It's sort of like a polar opposite. Cloud Soul effect is often lackluster. Ocean Soul effect is amazing, and it's a counterpoint for the individual dragons, especially if you're playing something like Karthus or even Ezreal.
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to ask you about that. So, how does it actually work? Because does it? Oh, I have to hold that for the moment. Warden looking to go in here. Chimera jumps down, they get a big bullet time and final chapter uses. Artorias comes into the flank, uses the showstopper. Chimera dodges away momentarily, but Artorias with the facebreaker gets it. Chimera blinks back into the fight, is able to secure himself a kill. Warden gets a knock off on the Pillar. Pillar with a big shield is going to survive for the moment. He does get taken down. Golden God still got full health, still feeling itchy to fight, but Chimera and Warden just way too low, way too risky to continue that fight. So they do step away.
Honestly, a good fight position there for Resolve. In that spot in the jungle, it was very hard for them to get any damage on the Dragdar. He was essentially just free hitting for the most part, and the Yumi ult from Richley got so much value there, locking everyone down. It's still a fight favored towards the side of London, but that was a good one for Resolve, all things considered. When you're 3k gold down, when the enemy team is spiking way harder, you take those.
Okay, so back to my question.
Yep.
How does the Cloud Soul ultimate cooldown reduction apply? Does it apply before your item CDR? So let's say you're Karthus and you have 40% CDR. Does it kind of stack on top of that, or does it take in the 40%, then add it?
It's not additive.
Okay. So
it's similar. It's similar to like Ultimate Hunter. It's not additive. It is multiplicative. I don't know exactly how it works, but it definitely isn't additive. Otherwise, if you got 4 Cloud Dragons plus 40% plus Ultimate Hunter, you'd literally just have 0 cooldown. So it's not additive. Things really are. Same with Tenacity. But he senses something.
To pause.
I think seeing it is the jungler DCing, which would be important there. But yeah, as I was saying, but it does have the champions that has a big factor. So you see Bear Tree with the body slam. So when Bear Tree lands a body slam onto a unit, it gets a cooldown, the cooldown reduced by 3 seconds, right? So him stacking so much CDR, you get a lot of value because whenever you body slam, the lower the cooldown is, it's a flat 3-second reduction. So you get a ton of value out of that because the difference between it being, 7 seconds and 4 seconds is massive when you're cutting 3 off that. And it's similar with the Ezreal ult. So Ezreal obviously reduces his ult cooldown every time he lands a Mystic shot. Now, if you're reducing the cooldown more with Cloud Souls, you can get it to a really low point where you can very quickly get your ultimate up and available again. Even 10, 15 seconds in a fight of consistently hitting Mystic shots, and you can have your ult back up. It's actually that insane. Maybe not 10, 15, maybe more like the 20 mark, but even so, can be super significant when he already stacks CDR. So if there was a situation, it's unlikely. Let's say Resolve got 4 Cloud Dragons from here on out, you would see really frequent ults coming out from Dragdar thanks to the flat reduction of 1.5 seconds, I believe it is, on his Mystic shot.
If they can do it, Olaf with Cloud Soul is terrifying, but we might have to hold that because we're coming out of the pause here. Chimera's stepping up, gets caught by the silence, misses out on the axe, but they get the Nevergrasp into the cleanse. QSS saves Chimera's life, and he's able to blink out.
Yeah, so that is the power, essentially, of the QSS in this situation. It just negates those scenarios completely. But it is 1,300 gold spent by Chimera that puts him behind. If you look at his items compared to Pillar, Pillar's nearly finished his Leandries. Chimera's quite a while away from anything significant that builds AP, and that is the cost of the Malzahar. That's why there is going to come a point where Resolve really do have a spike because they're not investing in those, and also they hit their own damage spikes. But right now, you can see nearly a 3,000 lead for Golden God. The Misfortune's so powerful right now, and the Ezreal really needs more time to come online with the Yuumi.
Yeah, Battery's got good control of this bot lane. Top Wave is pushing away and into the side of London Esports, but teleport's available on Pillar, so he continues to go here. Chimera actually has to blink out to safety from Dragdar and Richley. They're actually starting to really pressure down on this LeBlanc. It had a good start, but starting to crumble a little bit here. Golden God had to flash away. He got chunked. This could just be the denial of the dragon.
This is just showing Ezreal Yuumi coming online. The flashbang by Golden God Chimera, unable to challenge it because of the exhaust and the ult. They are suddenly becoming extremely relevant, and this is what London had to be scared of. The lead wasn't super significant. We saw the gold graph a second ago. It did steadily increase. But Ezreal Yuumi is so monstrous in the late game now. Dragon being started up. This is denied the soul. It looks like London aren't willing to let it happen for free.
No, you have got Warden. He gets instantly caught up by the Nevergrasp, but the damage comes in. That's the dragon secured. There's no soul available. Warden cataclysms into Pillar. The bullet time is channeled, and it melts for Artorias. 2 kills picked up for London. The True Shot Barrage, not enough to kill Warden there. They deny soul, but they lose 2.
Yeah, TP available from Dragdar, so I think he's going to try and rejoin this and stop the Baron. They did chunk them out, but they lost 2 members. TP available for Artorias and Pillar, though. If this Baron is slow, they could join, and Ezreal Yuumi is so dangerous when you're on a Baron. The poke is insane. Watch Chimera, though. He's probably the one who's going to be looking to threaten.
Looks like they're just trying to pill them for the moment. Chimera goes in for the chains, misses out, and the Baron is stopped. Warden was just too low. It was way too risky. Linkus, however, is still looking to try and see if he can find someone. There's a teleport coming in. They're not done with the fight yet. Linkus has flash. Raisins is going to look for the slow momentarily. Artorias dodges away, uses the ultimate. Chimera has to blink away again. He can ping back, and Pillar predicts it. He ults away one more time. Chimera continuing to run. You send Linkus golden. Chimera is just running for his life right now. Bear Tree uses the cast, but is being chased down by the final chapter. The jukes by Chimera. He's still going. The Cloud Soul zone will give him a little bit of movement speed to work with. They can't catch this man anymore. Chimera is outie.
Oh, the ult gets him.
That could be Baron. This could be the turnaround. Resolve.
No jungler. They can actually do this.
Golden God does have ultimate. He may have to use it. Teleports are coming in. Chimera's got the damage. The bullet time into the Nevergrasp. They're trying to find the damage on the Golden God. The shutdowns there. Chimera jumps in. Bear Tree's into the pit. Gets himself a double kill. Baron's up, but I don't even know who got it there. It's going to be Resolved. They're secure for the moment, but Bear Tree is still going in the fight. finally falling down to Artorias. The secure onto Baron was huge. Chimera just about lives, but they deny 2 members.
Oh, it's so close. The decision by Resolve to TP their members in. It was messy. They didn't find Chimera, but a great ult from Dragdar kills the jungler, and that is the go signal. They get on the Baron. The ult from Golden God was nearly enough to just destroy them, but Pillar with the clutch ult shut that down. And then although the cleanup comes from Beartree, who's been a monster on this Gragas, it's not quite enough. Resolve get the Baron. They've closed the gap. They denied the soul as well. They might be coming back in this game and in this series. Remember, their backs are against the wall. They're 1-0 down. It's all or nothing. And they're finally starting to clutch it out.
I think Golden God just stood a little too close to the pit. And that allowed Pillar to get the easy Nevergrass to cancel that ultimate out. That could have been a devastating bullet time into the pit otherwise for Golden God.
It still did a ton of damage, but you're right. It got cut down too short. And it's a game of millimeters there. You stand a bit further away. You don't get quite as much of sort of ult tracking. These clutch moments, you gotta think about these decisions. Now, there's still a goal lead for London. They're not out. There's 2 minutes on that dragon, which would be soul for them. The Baron is in favor of Resolve. There's extra stats and their empowered minions. And looking to capitalize. It looks like London were trying to make a pick around the top side, but Resolve are just pushing mid.
Yeah, no one is there. They've got 3 members down, and Pillar, he's just proxy farming in the top bot lane. He's able to get a turret for himself. Now, Golden God does a fair amount of damage to Dragdar. With that Grievous, it makes the healing a little bit harder for him, but starting to get some kind of control around this mid lane for the side of London Esports. They are going to play a little bit slower, calm down a little bit. You can see that Linkus is pushing into this tower in the bot lane. He will be able to take that. Chimera continuing to push, and Golden God, they're just pulling the buff here. They want to go 1-2 on turrets. They're going to be able to get both mid.
They're trading up against the Baron. It's just great macro decision making from London. And they're trading evenly in total in terms of towers against this Baron. It's been 2 for 2 so far. So by all means, London coming out of this one pretty good. But they are resetting now. Pings are coming out for the Dragon. The sights are set on that one. Again, would be soul for London. This could be the fight that dictates the game once again.
Base is going to go through for Chimera. He did steal away the blue buff. Dragon, is up in 37 seconds time. You can feel the fear starting to build up in London Esports after that pretty devastating loss of the Dragon and the Baron. QSS still not available to Golden God. They don't have her materials on Raisins either, so if Golden God gets ulted by Pillar, he could be doomed. And actually, they're just going to throw everything into the support. That's going to be the ultimate coming down by 1. Trying to get the damage off. Golden God does get a good bullet time channel, able to take out Artorias, but he is being run down by the jungler. It means nothing. Golden God lives. The ace comes down, and London Esports find themselves the fight. They may even find themselves the game there. The redemption heals them up massively at this point, and now they're going to continue to chip away at these turrets. They should be able to at least get an inhibitor and a couple of turrets here.
This isn't end. They can just end this game.
Be the game though. You look at the death time. There's 15 seconds on Dragdar, 21 on Pillar. I don't think they're going to be able to come up in time. Turret number 1's going to go down. Turret number 2 short to follow. London Esports 2-0, and they are your last team to qualify for the UKLC.
And it looked so much like Resolve for bringing it back. Even in that fight, the huge Yuumi ult, it looked like they were going to take it. But it wasn't a structured fight. Dragdar wasn't safe. He goes down, and then the rest of the team just starts to fall apart around them. London, definitely not an easy journey, despite the fact it was a 2-0 score. But they were decisive. They had some clean play, and very much deserving of this spot in the UKLC. They came in as my favorites, and I think they delivered on that.
Yeah, they really did. They had that one upset versus Viperio, but at the end of the day, they got themselves the win they needed, and that was looking a little shaky in the mid game. We have to admit that. And normally we kind of question London's early game, but in this game, it kind of more fell down to the mid game, and well, even I'd say late game actually, where they started fighting around the Baron and stuff and Dragon Soul, but. Resolve, they showed us they had some fight. They showed us why they were another kind of heavily stacked roster, but London were the team who came out on top 2-0. Then he dropped 1 game in the qualifications, and they are now the final team to qualify for the UKLC. That does change up quite a lot here. I'm excited to see what they have to offer, really.
I am as well. Honestly, I'm excited to see them. Well, I've been excited to see them today. They've performed really well in the close qualifiers. I think Resolve put up a good fight and there were good moments, but it wasn't consistent enough. And it's unfortunate that we're saying goodbye to Resolve because I think they showed they were strong coming out the open qualifiers. But London, I feel like this roster is going to put in a good fight for the entire UKLC. I think today we saw a lot of their coordination as a team. I think the fundamentals were there. They knew what they were supposed to be on the map. They knew how they're supposed to be executing. And sure, they're not flawless, but no team is. And I'm really hyped about this roster making their way into the UKLC. And it's got to give praise. I don't think there's an individual member who I can highlight because everyone was just doing so much work. Battery was just feeling unkillable when he was getting pressured. Warden was consistently going where he needed to be. Chimera just monstrous on the LeBlanc. And then the bot lane, Golden God and Raisins just consistently doing what they needed to do for the team. So huge amount of credit to all of them. Well deserved to get this spot.
I'd like to see what they can do in the rest of the scene, but Warden really impressed me as someone who hasn't really been playing in the UK scene, in the UKLC anyway. You know, a bit of an unknown name if you don't follow this, if you follow the UK League. So impressive showing from him. But let's have a little look at our bracket. We all know how everything phased out, but you can see at the end of the day, we have two new teams in the UKLC. Bulldog returning after a year and a half, and London Esports recently joining us after getting a 2-0 win here. Just fantastic showing. Commiserations to both Viperio and Resolve. Unfortunately, they were not able to cut it to this time round, but maybe we'll see in the future.
I think that's the hype thing, is that like, as much as it's obviously upsetting that like these good teams don't make it into the UKLC, the fact that we have so much talent who are unable to qualify for the UKLC, and then we also have all the talent in the Nordic League, the Northern League, sorry, I just feel like there's so many talented players who are just competing at the moment. It's got me so hyped for the scene in general, and more than anything, this sort of taste of things with the qualifiers really made me interested in the summer split, even more so than I already was, obviously. But like the UKLC feels like there's a lot of teams, there's a mix of names. It feels like it's going to be super competitive between them all. I think a lot of players with things to prove as well, and a lot of new fresh talent coming out. And then obviously the NLC is just a lot of stacked rosters. So summer, man, I am more than excited.
If you are a UK fan, I think this is probably the most exciting time we've had for a very long time here in the UK scene. And even if you're not a fan of just the UKLC and you're from the Nordics and stuff, with the NLC kind of being linked to us as our main league now, it's so exciting because we have two feeder leagues feeding into the big league, which is the Northern League Championship. Obviously the UKLC and then the UKEL are our other two leagues that are kind of working their way up towards it. There is just so much growth that is going to be, hopefully will come out from this new system. It's going to be a really exciting next couple of years, I think, in the UK scene. And I can't wait to see what this kind of produces for us, because with the introduction of the UKLC last year, we saw the most UK players going over to the LEC we'd ever seen. And I don't see why a system like this won't give us even more talent growth, why we won't see even more people kind of moving up the ranked ladder in competitive play. So it's super exciting, and I can't wait to get going with the main league for the UKLC. That is starting next Sunday. A week today, we'll be kicking off our first show for the summer split. I can't wait, and I hope you guys will be there to join us. Orcs, thank you very much for joining me on the broadcast for the last 2 days. Thank you very much for watching us at home, guys. We are going to end it here. We will see you on Sunday for the summer split of the UK League Championship.